All right, so I think this is recording. Let's take a look at this problem. It's a uniform motion problem. We have a community college Earth Science Club goes by van on a trip from Los Angeles to Morro Bay and back. On the way to Morro Bay, they drove 50 miles per hour. On the return trip home, they drove 40 miles per hour. If the round trip took 9 hours, how far is Morro Bay from Los Angeles? All right, so let's draw a sketch, and that's where these problems are a little bit kind of fun. Um, we have Los Angeles, and we have a van of community college students. My van is not, it's one of those boxy vans. We know that on the rate um, on the rate to the bay, they are driving 50 miles per hour. And they get to this Morro Bay, and they turn around to go home. And the rate that they're going home to LA is slower, what was it? 40 miles per hour. Now, we don't know the time that it took to go to the bay, so I'm going to call that X, and that's in hours. And the expression then that I'm going to use for the time getting back to LA, if the total trip took 9 hours and X hours was spent going there, then 9 minus X is the length of time in hours that it takes to return back home to LA. So the distance, the distance there is equal to the distance back. Okay, so the distance that if you go LA to this bay is the same distance that if you go from the bay to LA. The direction doesn't change the distance, right? And we know that in uniform motion, our primary relationship is distance is equal to rate times time. So we want the information about rate and time on the way to the bay and set that equal to the product of the rate times the time to LA. So the rate to the bay we know is 50. And we just said that we would let the length of time it takes to get to the bay, that we call that X hours. Now on the return home, the rate to LA is 40 miles per hour. and the length of time that you're on the road is 9 minus x, because we know that if we add the two times together, that the total time is 9 hours. So if I solve this, I'll have the length of time. I'll have the length of time that it took for them to drive to the bay. So let's get that. 50x is equal to 360 minus 40x. So if I add 40 and shrink this up, so if I divide each side by 90, I get that x is equal to 4, and that's representing in hours, and that's the length of time that it takes to travel from LA to the bay. But that's not what they were wanting in the it said how far is it from there. So I know how to calculate the distance. On this left-hand side, I was going to the bay. I now know that x is 4, and 50 times 4 is 200. So the distance that I want, and it doesn't matter which, I could have plugged in the x on the other side and get the same answer. 50 times 4, 200 miles. So LA to this Morro Bay, the distance from LA to Morro Bay is 200 miles. So that's what they were wanting. So here's our final answer. All right, so I hope that helps, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.